It's very demanding. Yeah, at the beginning it was really tough, but then you get used to it, and it becomes very addictive also.
WALID BOUDHIAF, Weltrekordhalter im Apnoe-Tauchen, taucht bis zu 150 Meter in die Tiefe. Mit ihm spreche ich über eine natürliche Atmung, Stärkung und Stretching der Atemmuskulatur sowie spezifisches Training für dein Zwerchfell. Lerne auch von ihm, wie du Stress reduzieren kannst und in stressigen Momenten sofort abschalten kannst. So, welcome WALID. Thank you for having time. I'm saying hello to Kash. You're now in Turkey and preparing yourself for the next CMAS World Championship. And welcome to the podcast. It's actually called Atempause. It's a German word. So welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. So glad to be here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm super happy to see you now live. Okay, yes, we're doing it online, but I'm following you already for a couple of months, maybe actually more than 2 years already. And I'm following the progress that you're going through. And it's super nice to see how you actually work out, how you work with your breathing techniques as well. And congratulations from this side as well. In January, you were setting up a new world record, doing variable weight in Sharm el-Sheikh with Andrea to 150 meters, which is really super, super cool and incredible. Just before our interview, I watched again the video of you achieving this world record. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you too.
That's super, super nice. So first of all, especially for our listeners who are more focused into breathing, how can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
My name is WALID. I'm a free diver. I'm a professional free diver. So I basically train and compete and train for record attempts. I'm originally from Tunisia. I was born in France and raised in Tunisia. But I've been living in South America for the last 16 years or so. And that's pretty much it, I think.
Okay, is he actually based in Medellin, right?
That's right, mainly, yeah. Though I had to travel a lot ultimately, and I usually travel to competitions to train. So I typically go a couple of months before to places like Long Island, Bahamas, or here, Turkey, or Greece, or wherever there is a competition. And so I stay long enough to train to do the lung adaptation and the specific training part. But I do all my physical training and the breathing and the pool training usually in Medellin, Colombia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about your breathing training, so what is actually your training focused on?
Well, typically, mainly two different things in breathing I try to address. So one is the breathing itself, the breathing function. So make it more conscious and work on that aspect. And then the other aspect I work a lot on is the strengthening of the respiratory muscles, of the breathing muscles, and making them more flexible. So I try to work these two aspects together. Same as for my physical training also. So flexibility and strength all together.
So when we talk about flexibility and your breathing muscles and your rib cage and everything, so can you just point out maybe 2 exercises that you do? They don't have to be your most favorite, but maybe your most valuable exercises that you do.
Well, I do a lot of different exercises. One part is I would say the typical, stretching we do for respiratory muscles, like basically inflating the lungs and deflating the lungs. So doing that, working on that range of movement. I do also some kind of specific work on the lungs using, for instance, the bridge, that bridge we lie on and to open up the chest and and work on the diaphragm also. I also use some kind of massage with the hands or the fingers on the diaphragm itself and the rib cage. So it's a lot of different exercises that I combine together. But yeah, I mean, or packing also, and reverse packing, I use them also for stretching purposes. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so so this is mostly actually focused on mobilization, on flexibility, in getting to open up the rib cage, getting more flexibility in your sternum as well on the outside as well as on the inside. Because just for an explanation, as soon as you start to descend and go really deep as you go, yeah, so you have an immense pressure around you and your chest gets compressed quickly. So you don't want to have any kind of negative feeling in your chest, and so you're working out with your chest a lot. Okay, so this is flexibility, maybe the bridge as well. Some hate it a lot, okay, to do that on the backside. I was trying it a lot with the ball, you know. That's just some balls you can actually work on in the beginning as well, because when I think about the bridge itself, yeah, it doesn't feel like a very good positive training. That it really feels good to really, you know, put your back on wood.
It's very demanding. Yeah, at the beginning it was really tough, but then you know you get used to it, and it becomes very addictive. Also, I really enjoy now the feeling of being, you know, lying there and being able to breathe all the way up. It's if you do it every day on a daily basis, you know, it's like any other exercise. It becomes a bit more pleasant.
Okay, and so this is mobility and stretching. So when you talk about actually strengthening up your breathing muscles, what kind of training are you focused on there?
Well, you know, I do a lot of exercises like breath of fire, or this kind of more aggressive kind of breathing. Some exercises from Kundalini yoga also. You know, combining breathing with explosive movements, for instance, of the arms or the elbows or the shoulders, combining with quick breathing. And breath of fire, as I said, also is something I use a lot to work on my diaphragm and all the abdominal area. I believe that, you know, you need to strengthen a lot those muscles, especially the diaphragm, because it's the main, as you know, the main breathing muscle, but it's not the muscle we are generally aware of, and it's very hard to isolate it and to strengthen it, to work out this muscle, because, you know, you can work out your biceps or your triceps or whatever, or your quads. It's easier. We have exercises for that, but for the diaphragm, it's much more difficult, because we don't see it. It's in there. It's inside. So, but I believe it's very important to strengthen it. A lot of issues people have with their breathing, or people in general, I'm not talking about freedivers, are linked to weakness in their respiratory muscles, especially mainly the diaphragm. So that's why they're using their clavicles, or, you know, a very how do you say, a wrong kind of breathing, right? So, and I believe that's the reason for that is lack of strength in the diaphragm. So I think we need to strengthen it a lot.
So when you talk about strengthening your diaphragm, so what is it precisely that you do? So you were talking about like pranayama, actually, like Kundalini exercises, and breath of fire, for example, as well. So yogic breathing. What else do you do to strengthen your diaphragm?
Yeah, I would say more aggressive kind of yogic breathing, like breath of fire again. Pranayama is nice, but it's more to work on maybe more at the first stage, to work on the consciousness of the breathing. But then I try to do things more aggressive kind of breathing, like breath of fire. Sometimes also maybe some kind of restrictive breathing, there are many different apparatus now that people use to restrict the breathing, and that obliges you to use your breathing muscles more efficiently and more strongly. I remember the old days, 10 years ago more, I was using a very thin tube between my lips and work out with that thing in my mouth. I wouldn't do it now because it's a bit risky. You might swallow it. But now they have these modern versions of devices that restrict the breathing, and I found it maybe useful at the beginning, especially when I didn't have that easy access to depth and to depth training. I found it was useful to work on those muscles.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about these devices, I always have in mind, for example, if somebody's trying to do that and thinks, okay, I'm getting better in freediving when I use that from the beginning on. Maybe it's a little bit hard because, as you said as well, most of the people really have an issue to use their diaphragm for breathing. When they're only focused on their mouth breathing, okay, maybe they are too high up in the chest. And well, this is just my opinion about that. I think just in the beginning, it's more important to really focus more on physical awareness. Maybe we have to say that you're a world champion. Okay, you don't have issues with your physical awareness, with the relaxation as well, which is actually the other part too. So when we talk about, on the one hand, about mobility, about stretching, about your breathing muscles, how do you work out yourself to come to the point to say, now I'm totally relaxed. Now I can really let go. While holding your breath, we have to say. Yeah.
You mean the relaxation part?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I started freediving, I remember when I started depth, because that was always my principal objective. I was struggling a lot with the mental part, with the relaxation, the stress control, and the nerves. That was one of my main obstacles, and I remember very well, like back in 2009 at Vertical Blue, my first competition in Vertical Blue. Every time I would grab the tag, my heart rate would rise a lot, and even the nerves before coming to the platform. And I had a lot of issues with that, and I tried back then different all kinds of methods. I took NLP, that's how we call it. Yeah, courses. I did so many different kind of techniques, yoga, hypnosis, and it wasn't really very useful, I think. Or things like deep meditations before the visualizations. I ended up using the dive itself as a meditation and as a way to relax myself. So basically, also through repetition and obviously when you do the dive over and over again, also when you attend different competitions, you become, of course, more used to these feelings and to the stress. But I don't think you can control that, and there's always some kind of stress, obviously. But then, as I said, I don't usually do any kind of meditation outside of the dive or yoga. I prefer to to make the dive itself my meditation, and it's a way for me to really release the tension or any kind of issues or problems I have. So I really use that moment, those 3-4 minutes during a long dive, a deep dive, in order to completely relax, as a therapy in a sense. So I might be very stressed out about that, like a world record attempt, for instance. Well, that 150 meters was quite. It's obviously one thing is to do it during training, and one other thing is to do it during an official attempt. So I remember well the days before the dive. Every day, was a higher level of stress as we approached the big day. But then I like also the idea of, I try to be conscious that I'm lucky also to be doing what I like to do, surrounded by many nice people who are also putting so much effort into the logistic and safety and everything. So I try to focus more on those aspects, positive aspects. And it's, I think, a nice opportunity to do a beautiful dive. And at the end, also, I try to, to take away importance from the dive itself or from the number of the record or whatever. Because at the end, I mean, sometimes I think, who cares, I know we are doing something that might be very, very important for us, and we sacrifice a lot, money, time, energy. But at the end, on the scale of the universe or whatever, of the ocean, it's ridiculous. So it's not something that would change the face of the world. So I think we just have to do it to enjoy ourselves and not avoid putting too much importance, to give it too much importance, or by the same time trying to do it in a good way, of course, and I try to do things well. So that's a
super nice point, because just this morning at 7 a.m. I had another interview with a person who was he's doing these race across America competitions, and he was winning them a couple of times, and he actually almost said the same as you did right now. So he said it's incredible for us humans sometimes, but if somebody from outside looks at us, they just think, so what? Nothing's changing with the world because of that. So the importance is more in us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I sometimes think about a deep animal like a whale or a seal who might be watching us from below, and all those funny humans trying to do repetitions of 60, 80, 100 meters, 150, whatever. They must be laughing at us. Or I think about this image before going to a dive. I just relax and go for it.
Cool. That's a very nice mental skill that you're actually explaining at the moment.
Easy.
So this is cool.
Yeah, as I told you, the beginning was very stressful, and it was my main barrier. But I realized that the more things I would do outside of the dive, like yoga, hypnosis, meditation, visualization, all these, and the more stressful actually it becomes. You have to be very careful with this kind of techniques, because sometimes they use them in other sports or other fields, like sales or whatever. But our sport is very, very, very specific, and it's quite different. So you are about to do something that nobody has done before. And at the same time, you got to do it, in a very natural manner, as if it was a walk in the park. So it's not easy to reach that level of relaxation.
So what I ask myself right now, I mean, you were talking a little bit about stress, about extreme situations, about situations that maybe no other human did before. So how do you handle these situations of high stress or maybe even panic, fear?
Yeah, I think one thing that helped me a lot in that aspect was all those years in San Andres Island in Colombia, where I had to be the organizer of the competitions and at the same time compete if I had the possibility to. Not always, because sometimes it was too overwhelming, of course, and I had to cancel my dives. But actually, till today, I think some of my best dives and even the deepest have been realized during those competitions. I was organizing at the same time. which some people sometimes like find like maybe weird or astonishing. But I think I was in such I was obviously stressed out due to the organization. You know, we had to deal with different kind of issues, money, safety of the athletes. You know how it is. But at the same time, I think the positive aspect was that the least of my concerns was my dive. Okay, so I usually would put all my energy in solving the problems of the day, of the logistic, and of the organization. And if I had the time at some point, maybe at 10 or 11 a.m., obviously I was on the start list and stuff, I would do my dive, but sometimes I would cancel because sometimes it's obviously not possible. It's too much stress. But what I mean is my dive didn't have any kind of importance to say, you know, it was really not important. So it's funny because during this competition, as I said, I did my best free immersion dives and concentrate dives. Probably the deepest, even my PBs actually. And it was a total, I mean, if you look at it from the outside, it was a total mess. It was such a complex situation to manage. But as soon as I arrived to the competition zone 5 minutes before and grabbed the rope to, you know, start my breathe up and stuff, I was completely transformed and it completely leave behind all the issues and the problems and focus on my dive. And as I said, it was a way for me to forget about all this stress and pain, because it was really painful and extremely, yeah.
But it's interesting because you said when you're diving, your dive is kind of a meditation, like a calm zone that you actually go into. So it sounds like for me that you actually have your own program set up, your own routine, and you just say, okay, now I have these 5 minutes before I go diving, and now I just close my eyes and I go just out of space, and I'm gone, and I'm going to my world. Nothing's bothering me right now.
Absolutely, it's really at that moment I cherish just to give myself the opportunity to enjoy a deep dive and forget about everything. And I know also that after the dive, if it's a successful dive, obviously, I would feel so well that in a way it's kind of, as I said, therapy. Like, and we all freedivers experience that. I mean, and not only freedivers, everybody who goes to the water, and then when they go out of the water, they are a different person. You know, it's something that we know. So I use the dive in that way, and that's also what makes me eager to continue training and diving on the following days, because, you know, a lot of people get kind of bored or maybe mentally tired or stressed out because they, you know, it's a sport where, like any other sport, it has a lot of repetition and maybe a degree of boredom. Sorry. So with that kind of mindset, I think I try to avoid this boredom, and I'm really willing to continue diving on the following days, and I have that you know, that willingness to continue going deeper and deeper.
Cool. Very nice. So, but when we could really come to a point, like before you said, for example, you're getting closer and closer to your world record attempt, maybe in January, and you said that from day to day, you feel more stress coming up, and you're getting closer and closer with your depth as well. Is there any breathing technique, for example, that you actually use for yourself to calm down again and to get back into your focus? Because this is what you need, right? If you go for an attempt like this, you have to be focused.
True. I wouldn't say, I mean, I of course use some kind of like a breathing pattern, but it's not like I count the breathings, or I don't like to have any kind of how do we say, to restrict the breathing, you know. I try to make it as natural as possible. But at the same time, I try to have the same kind of breathing that I would have during sleep. When I sleep, that I slightly inhale with a very little pause, and then exhale and release. And that exhale helps me getting rid of all tension and the issues. So in a way, yeah, I use the breathing to get more relaxed. Of course, I try to, as I said, use every exhale to completely surrender. Get rid of tension, and but that's in a very, very natural way. No counting, no pranayama, nothing really special about it. Just very, very, very naturally. I try to make it as simple as possible and focus on positive aspects and positive people also surround me, or I like to take a look at the surroundings also. Usually we dive in very beautiful places, so I feel lucky also to be able to contemplate, the sea, the ocean, the mountains, whatever. And it gives me some kind of positive energy and a sense of peace before the dive. Yeah.
It's really cool because you explain it as if it would be super normal. So like, come on guys, what's going on? I'm in the moment. I'm breathing naturally. I'm breathing slow. I'm breathing as if I'm sleeping. And maybe this is, I can understand you. I'm a freediver as well, and other freedivers can understand you as well, because this is just natural. You have to breathe naturally. You have to breathe calm to just arrive in the moment, to arrive with yourself. But most of the people, they don't do that, right? So most of the people, they breathing mostly through their mouth, way too fast, up on the chest. They're restricted as well, as you said in the beginning, with the diaphragm. So it's just wonderful to see what you're actually doing and what is super natural for you, because otherwise you wouldn't have the capability of really calming down, going to 100-meter plus, 150 meters, and swim up again from 150 meters, which is incredible. And so this is something unique. Maybe some people who are actually listening to this and watching it, if we ask them what is a natural breathing, they will just ask themselves, I don't know, in and out. So it's a big difference. So when you talk about natural breathing, can you explain us what natural breathing is for you?
I use the term natural just to explain that I don't count. I don't do some kind, because I know some people do those kinds of pranayama breathing with the cycles, counting to 4 or 5 or whatever. I don't do that. I don't use that because I don't want to have numbers in my head, or I prefer to think about nicer things than numbers. So natural breathing, I would say, is the kind of breathing that you have when you're sleeping, when you're asleep. I try to mimic that kind of breathing. It's a shallow kind of breathing. If I have a mask or nose clip, I obviously need to use my mouth, but using the nose would be even better and ideal. And maybe at the end, switch to the nose clip or the mask and switch to the mouth. But yeah, gentle tidal breathing, focusing, I would say, more on the exhale in a sense, because I feel that the exhale allows us to really release and relax, So yeah, it's just I try to remember, or I try to make myself, I'm on the rope, or well, maybe lying on my back, but I feel like I'm in my bed, sleeping, about to fall asleep.
So for the people who cannot see WALID at the moment and not the 20 minutes before, he's not breathing at all through his chest. So his chest is super calm. And if you have a look at his social media, for example, and if you follow him and you see him in many videos actually without a shirt, yeah, because he's super well trained, and you will see him most of the time actually more working with his belly. So most of the time you're not really expanding your chest a lot on a normal base. Yeah, if you train, as you said before, for example, with the bridge, going to the back and just opening up your chest, you do that as well, yes, because you focus on it, because you focus on flexibility and mobility or strengthening your breathing muscles. But most of the time you're a belly breather, right? So you, as you said, the way you do as you're sleeping.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's the way we have to breathe, obviously, through the belly, not using the chest. But yeah, as you said, it becomes more natural after practice, either on the bridge or sitting in a yoga position and working on the diaphragmatic breathing, especially at the beginning. You know, when I remember when I started freediving, I would spend hours doing that kind of diaphragmatic breathing, and eventually it becomes completely natural and unconscious, and that's the way we have to breathe, yeah, as newborn babies do.
Yeah, as newborn babies, that's the point. Yeah. So just one more thing that I'm thinking about when I look at your videos and some pictures of you. What you're actually doing, you're doing a specific movement. So you actually for example, you're sitting on the bottom, okay, like in lotus, for example, and then you're exhaling strongly, entirely, and then you putting up your chest a little bit, your head leans forward, and you're pulling up your diaphragm. All right. So this is, for most of the people, it looks a little bit awkward, right? So why do you do this specific movement and hold it, for example, or then you start to do this wave on your belly? What's the reason for that?
Well, Uddiyana Bandha is one of the main exercises that we use in freediving, and the reason why we do that, beside taking pictures, obviously, and putting them on social media, it's actually a very useful exercise because it mimics, in a way, or maybe it prepares the body to handle the pressure of the water on our body and on our chest and lungs. Because, you know, if you take a look at a picture of a freediver from profile below a certain depth, maybe below 30 meters or below its residual volume, even with their wetsuit on, you will see the exact same posture, you know, underwater, because the pressure is simply pushing the abdomen and the diaphragm in an upward position, and that's exactly the reason why we replicate to do that same posture dry on land, in order to prepare the body for that pressure. It's a huge amount of water and pressure on our body, so we have to prepare the diaphragm for that, so it can accommodate and, you know, go up the deeper we go. And yeah, that's the main reason. And then the other techniques I use, like the rolling of the belly, that funny thing, like a belly dancer. That's it's useful in order to well, I use it before taking the air out of my lungs, using, for instance, reverse packs. So I do that funny movement before, and it works like a pump in a way. So it helps extracting the air, and then I use my mouth in order to physically extract the air, and in order to tap on the residual volume. That's the final, well, the main reason we do all these exercises at the end for us freedivers is to minimize the residual volume. So the amount of air that stays into the lungs after a full exhale. And it's very important, because the lower the residual volume, basically, the deeper you go. That's as simple as that. That's
so it's
almost
actually
mathematical.
Depth adaptation while being dry. what you're doing.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Super cool. It's very nice insights. Wally, thank you very much. It's a lot of knowledge, a lot of techniques as well that we can some people can maybe practice it as well, or can maybe actually understand a bit better what these free divers are doing with this hole in their belly. This could be one thing. So the last question for our interview would be for me, what is success for you? If you think about success for yourself, what is it?
It's a good question. Well, I would say success would be the ability to do what you love, your passion, no matter the result or the outcome. Just being able to dedicate your life to what you like, doing what you like. I think that more than enough as you could consider it a success, because we're always depending on some kind of things, and we put some mental barriers also to ourselves, saying, for instance, I need to reach that goal, I need to reach that record or that number in order to be successful, or in order to get a sponsorship, or in order to be, I don't know, famous or whatever. But at the end, I think the mere fact of being able to do it, to, I don't know, travel the world, to practice your passion, like free diving, for instance, is in itself a huge success. I mean, we can see now so many people suffering around the world and trying to survive, doing whatever they can. And I think just being able to practice this and make a living out of it is in itself a huge success.
Okay. So, but I will still ask this question. I could do an interpretation, but I will still ask it. Are you successful for yourself?
I'm still working on it. I mean, I set to myself some goals. Obviously, I consider in order to be successful. It's more something that has to do with myself. So not proving to anybody that I can do this or that, but just showing to myself that I can reach that goal. And but at the end, I think all what I can learn during that process is an enormous plus and advantage and skill. So I think I'm still working on it.
Okay. So you're on your way to your personal success.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, okay, I have another question. One more. I like this question, so I will ask it as well. So, what are 2 or maybe 3 things that make you happy? It can be anything. It can be chocolate ice cream, or I don't know, diving with a dolphin.
Well, that one. I think waking in the morning and being able to go to the ocean and do whatever kind of dive. It doesn't matter the depth, or I think that makes me happy for sure.
Okay, number 1. Number 2?
Number 2, seeing the persons that I love or care for being happy also makes me happy, of course.
Last but not least, number 3.
Number 3. a nice plate of food, a good dish.
Okay. Do you have a specific one in mind when you talk about a nice dish of food?
The Turkish cuisine is amazing.
The Turkish cuisine is
that's
amazing.
So, I don't want to leave this.
Okay, so you're still exploring more kinds of food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Walid, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for all the insights, especially from our world record diver as well. What happens in your head? How do you handle all these situations? It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. And I will reflect on what you said as well and try to integrate some things into my training.
Thank you, Timo. I hope it will be useful to the listeners, and thank you a lot for the invitation.
You're welcome. So if you want to know more about Walid, I will just leave some links from him as well in the comments down here in the description, and then you can just check out and follow him. He just said in October there's the next competition, and you can just see how he's doing, what he's going to be, what kind of attempts he wants to do. So just follow him as well on Instagram as well, under WALID BOUDHIAF. Do I pronounce it right, Walid?
Yeah, perfect. I know it's hard to spell, but you pronounce it right.
Okay. Otherwise, you will find it as one description. All right. So thank you very much for listening. And I hope to see you soon or listen to you soon in the Atempause podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Timo.
Ich hoffe, dieser Podcast hat dir ebenfalls wieder gut gefallen. Diesmal war er auf Englisch. Ich hoffe, du konntest folgen. Gib mir gerne auch dazu nochmal ein Feedback, wenn du möchtest. Ansonsten schau sehr gerne bei uns auf der Homepage vorbei, www.freedive-your-life.com. Dort findest du dann auch Atemkurse, die jetzt im Herbst wieder voll durchstarten. Es gibt digitale Kurse als auch den ersten Live-Kurs. Das ist der Essentials-Grundkurs und ein Teacher-Training live hier in Österreich in Graz. Pass auf dich auf und bis zum nächsten Mal.